The disappearance of the Dwemer is the greatest known mystery on Tamriel, and to this day, 3 years after the event occurred, scholars are still debating what really happened to this race of ancient Mer. There are a few well-accepted theories circling around the Elder Scrolls lore community concerning this event, but today I'm going to be presenting the theory which I think is the most compelling and likely to be true. This theory was presented to me by two members of my Discord server, Beans on Fridays and Special Vamp Kitty, so I want to thank them for supplying the idea for this video. It's imperative for us to first begin with the events that preceded the disappearance of the Dwemer, since it is through these events that they actually came to disappear. The year is 700 of the First Era, and war has broken out between the Dwemer and Chimer, who had, until recently, been united under the First Council. The war was instigated mostly due to religious differences. The Orthodox, Daedra-worshipping Chimer were worried and unhappy with the Dwemer's actions. The leader of House Dagoth at the time, Vorin Dagoth, claimed that the Dwemer Eternal Architect, Kagrenak, was using the Heart of Lorkhan to construct a golem that would destroy the Chimer. After Azura ratified these claims, the Hortator Nerevar was left no choice but to declare war. In years past, the Chimer had come to blows before with the Dwemer over small matters of religion, when the secular Dwemer openly mocked and scorned the Chimer's faith in the Daedra. The creation of this brass god proved too great an affront to the Chimer's culture and ideology, and so Induril Nerevar was left no choice but to call his banners. The War of the First Council was detrimental to both sides, but this is about the extent of what we know about it. There are varying accounts of the war, with some suggesting that the war was simply between the dwarves and Chimer, whilst others insist that it was a three-way conflict between the Dwemer, Chimer and Nords. Either way, every account agrees that the war culminated in the Battle of Red Mountain. But accounts of the Battle of Red Mountain again vary. Different sources state that the battle was either the last stand of the Dwemer, or an attack contrived by leading the bulk of the Dwemer away from Red Mountain, or where the Chimer and Dwemer armies, and any Nordic forces involved, simply met in bloody conflict. Either way, the fight came to an abrupt end when the Chimeri forces were left awestruck on the volcano slopes at the sudden disappearance of their foes. The leader of the Chimer forces, Nerevar, and his counsellor Vorin Dagoth recovered the Dwemer tools Sunder, Keening and Wraithguard. These were the tools that Kagrenak had been using desperately at the crux of the mountain to try and manipulate the Heart of Lorkhan, and the decision of what should be done with Kagrenak's inventions ultimately fell to the Hortator Nerevar. We're not going to go into what happened to the tools after Nerevar found them, since that is a long and arduous tale to tell, but if you do want to learn more about that, then feel free to watch my video on Dagoth. What we are concerned with today is the nature of the Dwemer's disappearance. It is clear that the cause of their disappearance was to do with Kagrenak using the tools Sunder, Wraithguard and Keening on the Heart of Lorkhan, but what really happened? In order to help us understand the nature of the Dwemer's disappearance in relation to the Heart of Lorkhan, we're going to be taking a look at the quest in Skyrim called Arniel's Endeavour, a quest which I'm sure a few of you will be familiar with. The quest revolves around a mage from the College of Winterhold known as Arniel Gain. He performed a series of experiments with the aim of trying to unravel the secret of the Dwemer's disappearance from Nirn. With aid from the Dragonborn, Arniel managed to attain a warped soul gem and the legendary Dwemer artifact Keening. He instructed the Dragonborn to stand back and he proceeded to strike the gem once and then twice, but nothing happened, and Arniel lost his temper, causing him to furiously strike the gem for a third time and disappear. The spell Arniel's Shade is then added to the player's conjuration spells list, and it, interestingly, costs 0 magicka, hinting that there's something else other than magic at play here. It is possible that when Arniel struck the gem, it replicated the events that caused the Dwemer to disappear. It seems that the warped soul gem could not absorb Arniel's soul, and it instead projected it to the Dragonborn, binding their souls together and allowing for the free summons. So what could have happened when Kagrenak used the tools in the Heart of Lorkhan was that the heart tapped into the Dwemer's telepathy through Kagrenak and used it to absorb the soul of every Dwemer on Nirn. Well, nearly every Dwemer. There is one Dwemer who, as far as we know, still lives on Tamriel. Yagrum Bagan was in what he calls an outer realm at the time of the disappearance of his kin, and so it is entirely possible that the heart was unable to reach Yagrum through telepathy since he was no longer on Nirn. After the Battle of Red Mountain, the Tribunal used the tools of Kagrenac on the heart of Lorkhan in some unknown ritual, and in doing so they achieved apotheosis like Dagoth Ur. In link with Arniel's quest, it is completely possible that they achieved this through absorbing the souls of the Dwemer from the heart. This idea certainly makes sense, since it would explain the reason the Tribunal had to make constant trips to the heart to rejuvenate their divinity. It could have been that they returned when the souls they had absorbed began to dwindle. Thus, they had to return to refuel, for want of a better word. There is also another interesting point to consider regarding the so-called Ghost Fence. The Ghost Fence was a magical barrier erected by the Tribunal in order to shield Morrowind from the threat of Dagoth Ur and his corpus disease. But what are ghosts? In usual terms, ghosts are apparitions of the dead who manifest themselves to the living. The barrier could have been named the Ghost Fence because it was fueled by the power of Dwemer souls channeled by the Tribunal. In effect, the Tribunal had forcefully manifested the souls of the dead Mer to serve their own purpose. To summarise this theory, the disappearance of the Dwemer was caused by the frantic actions of Kagrenac as he attempted to use his unfinished workings to understand how to use the Heart of Lorkhan to achieve divinity. Ultimately, Kagrenac's hasty attempt failed, and this accidentally allowed the Heart to access every Dwemer's mind and soul through their telepathic link. The Heart then bound the souls of the interlinked Dwemer to itself, rendering the Heart much more powerful. The Tribunal, as well as Dagoth Ur, then used Kagrenac's tools to achieve immortality, most likely by following one of Kagrenac's experiments. It is widely known that the Dwemer utilise souls on a massive scale to fuel things such as their metal constructs, and so the Tribunal could have easily adapted some Dwemer teachings to manipulate the heart to extract the souls trapped inside. Finally, the last living Dwemer, Yagrum Bagan, managed to survive the whole ordeal by being inaccessible at the time of the event, because he was present in what we can only assume was a plane of oblivion or theories. I know this theory might seem slightly far-fetched, but it's one that I believe is highly probable, especially considering the comparisons that can be made between this idea and the quest Arniel's endeavour in Skyrim. I implore you to go and do some of your own research on this topic too though. There are plenty of other theories out there that are just as interesting as this one. Thanks for watching this video. If you want to learn more about the Battle of Red Mountain and the aftermath of the War of the First Council, then be sure to check out the video I did on Dagoth Ur. If you're interested in interacting with me and others interested in the Elder Scrolls lore, then feel free to check out my Discord, the link is in the description.